At last, public spending is the central political issue of our time.
We walk away with spending cuts. We walk away with permitting reform. We walk away with work requirements. We're growing the economy, clawing back COVID funds, saving taxpayers money, and limiting the growth of government.
The reason Joe Biden and the Democrats wanted to separate the debt ceiling from the budget is that uncapped federal spending has become a matter of survival for the entire blue ecosystem. Washington, blue states, and blue cities. If they don't spend, they'll die.
This is a bill that weakens us in the fight against climate change. It takes food away from hungry people. It makes students who are struggling on student loan debt locked in harder on making their payments.
On the Republican side of the debt ceiling fight, there was no serious difference on spending control between Kevin McCarthy's allies and detractors. It's progress that's also reflected among the growing list of GOP presidential contenders, including Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Mike Pence, Asa Hutchinson, Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, Doug Burgum, and Ron DeSantis.
The nation was careening towards bankruptcy prior to that debt deal, and the nation is still careening towards bankruptcy after that debt deal. It gives Biden $4 trillion of additional debt through the end of his first term and only term as president.
Contrast this with the narrative today about blue states and cities in the North and West, for whom the phrase du jour is doom loop.
California lost 300,000 residents between April of 2020 and July of 2021. New York lost a net 365,000 people, about 2% of its total population. Now, there is a continued shift from high tax to low tax states.
Unable to supply adequate housing or public services, the Democratic Party's most productive inhabitants and businesses are migrating to red states, fatally eroding the blue state tax base. What's left behind is a crumbling physical infrastructure and crushing public pension obligations, which will only worsen as baby boomers prepare to leave the workforce.
They don't have a big window like, say, Gen Xers like myself or millennials, and certainly not Gen Z.
On this vote, the yeas are 63, the nays are 36.
With the debt deal, Mr. Biden is being given a win for protecting his infrastructure legislation and climate spending. But while support for some infrastructure spending was bipartisan, what did Washington's Democrats do next?
The vice president votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
Passed without one Republican vote, a whopping $370 billion in spending on the climate.
Speaker McCarthy says he wants to limit, save, and grow. But what he and his Republicans really want to do is cut, gut, and slow the pace of the clean energy and climate action.
Today, the climate has become the Democratic path to further uncapped spending. Joe Biden said entitlement reform was off the table, but entitlements are untouchable anywhere blue.
I was born and raised in this state, and until the last few years, I rarely, if ever, saw a California license plate in the state of Florida. You now see a lot of them. I can tell you, if you go to California, you ain't seeing very many Florida license plates.
The offstage smackdown between California's Governor Gavin Newsom and Florida's Ron DeSantis is a useful spectacle.
The vast majority, almost the entire amount, impacted because of the visa policies in the Trump administration. This whole damn border debate is made up.
The 2024 election is about running the federal government on the red state model or blue state model, between making fiscal responsibility a national norm or extending blue bailouts until we hit bottom.